Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, EXP family and friends. Happy Friday. So honored to be with you all. If you're joining us live in EXP World Main Auditorium, welcome. If you're a regular at this session, you know what we're about to do. We are going to get your mindset in the right place to kick this morning off. If you're just joining us for the first time, don't worry. We'll explain what we're up to in just a minute. So I have two mindset prompts on the screen for you today. The first one is a chance for you to reflect. I want you to just close your eyes, take a breath, sit there for a moment, and I want you to list two things that you learned about yourself during this past month. Two things you learned about yourself this past month. It's important to reflect, to take note, to take inventory of what's new knowledge, new paradigms, new beliefs, new ideas. Maybe you did something you didn't know you could do. Maybe you did something you were afraid of and you made it through. Maybe you struggled or stumbled or faltered and you need to adjust. What are two things you learned about yourself this past month? Little reflection. The next prompt gives you a chance to look forward a little bit. I want you to think about first your big goal for the year. You might have many, maybe you only have a few. You've simplified your life and your business, but I want you to pick one. Think about one of your big goals for the year. Do you have it? All right. Now, I want you to think about, identify, or even name the next step you need to take towards that big goal. I was having coffee with my wife this morning. She was talking about the year. She was talking about her big goal. And the number one thing we can do today is what? What's that next step? Write it down. Don't lose it. Put it at the top of your priority list. Make sure you prioritize making progress towards that big goal. That takes us to the welcome screen, everybody. Welcome to a live recording of Light Work. We call this your weekly energy practice. We have an amazing agenda for you today. Every single Friday, except for holiday weeks, we're going to bring you a special guest. We're going to have a conversation with that guest, get a little bit of story, get a little bit of strategy, and leave you with a message of support. Today is no different. I am honored to be joined by an amazing entrepreneur. Nicole runs multiple seven-figure businesses. She's a leader. She's an amazing partner here at EXP. Super excited and honored to be joined straight out of Atlanta, Georgia by Nicole Ambrose. Nicole, welcome and good morning.
Good morning.
Great to be with you. Thank you for joining us today. It's an honor to have you here on Light Work. So Nicole, we talked about having a short amount of time with this audience, and we want to deliver maximum impact today. We've got about 27 minutes. I'd like to ask you to kick us off with just telling us your story. Let this audience get to know you a little bit.
Absolutely. So I feel like I'm talking about real estate all the time when I'm talking to people. So I really want to just kind of take today and let people just kind of get to know me a little bit and the back end story about me. So I am living in Atlanta, Georgia right now, but I'm originally from Chicago, Illinois. I've been in Atlanta for about 22 years. Absolutely love it here, but Chicago will always be home. And I just wanted to kind of talk to people and tell my story, because one of the things that I have been very, very shy about up until last year was the fact that growing up, I had dyslexia. And in having dyslexia, my dyslexia was photogenic dyslexia. So what that means is that if the word was I saw, I would flip the entire word around. So as I was growing up, I was in private school, and the teachers not only would overlook me for a lot of things, but I had a lot of people that were influences in my life as a child that would tell me that I wasn't going to amount to anything as an adult, and that I would end up in. We had a lot of factories on the south side of Chicago, and that I would be a factory worker, and to kind of accept that as my narrative. And I knew the whole time that there was something else out there for me, but I just didn't know what. And I knew that I didn't want to be a factory worker. So right away, I got to 7th grade. I had a teacher that was very instrumental in my life. Her name was Mrs. Martin. I'll never forget Mrs. Martin. Mrs. Martin was the first person who really showed me what a real servant leader was, which is where my success comes from today. And I'll get back to that. But Mrs. Martin helped me to really, really understand that it was okay for me to be different. And that 1% of me that made me different, whether it was 1% or 10% that made me different, was the thing in my life that I really needed to embrace. And that the things that I looked at as faults, or things that I looked at that made me feel inadequate, or things that I felt like were imperfections about me, that if I took those things, grabbed them by the horn, and loved them way more than I did the things that I felt like were perfections in my life, that would be the turning point. So I didn't really understand that then, because I was too young to get it. So by the time I got to high school, her and my grandmother were both reinforcing that message to me. So that message really changed my life. And Mrs. Martin continued to mentor me through high school. And when I really got to a place where I looked at my dyslexia as me being different. And I understood at that point that different didn't mean less than, different simply just meant different, that I learned differently than other people, that it didn't make me inadequate. And when I began to love all of the imperfections about myself, my life began to completely change as a young person. So by the time I got to college, I said, okay, college is not for me. I'm going to just go and try and go into entrepreneurship. And that didn't work for me at the time. So I went and got a job. But throughout the whole time, I kept that in the back of my mind that throughout my journey, love my imperfections. And the things that make me imperfect are the things that make me perfect all at the same time. So as I began, fast forward to on my own, I started my own business about 10 years ago. And my first business was a tax company. And what I remember throughout my entire journey of entrepreneurship this past 10 years, I remember Mrs. Martin. And I remember the impact that Mrs. Martin made on me and how what she left with me took me through my adulthood. So that's what has shaped me in business. It has really made me understand that whatever product you sell, it's just the product. It's the customer service that you leave behind, and it's the way that you make people feel while doing business with them. And if you can make people feel, no matter what the product is, that they can do anything, that they're amazing, and you give them a feeling of amazing customer service that will stay with them forever, it doesn't matter what service you sell, they're always going to come back to you, because it's how you make people feel about themselves and the confidence in one sentence that you can leave with a person that will catapult their whole imagination to the next level. And that's what Mrs. Martin did for me. It's what my grandmother did for me throughout those years. They gave me the courage to feel like I can. So now in business, because I overcame that and I became to be real successful, I realized that I'm not afraid of anything. There's nothing that you can put in front of me that I feel like I can't do, because if I defied the odds as a kid, where people were telling me I was supposed to be a factory worker, and now I own multiple very, very successful businesses, including my real estate business and my real estate coaching program. And people look to me and admire me for my drive. But what they don't know, because I've been afraid to say it all of these years, is that I was that person in elementary school that couldn't read. I was the person in high school that I would read a paragraph and I couldn't comprehend, and I had to work 10 times as hard as everybody else. But me working 10 times as hard as everybody else gave me a work ethic that makes my business successful.
Woo! Well, Nicole, I've got chills up and down, and I want to first just thank you for your transparency, and thank you for taking us to what sounds like a painful memory and a painful time in your life. And congratulations on, feeling comfortable enough to share that, and knowing that through sharing your journey, you're helping others through that journey right now. I'm going to do a quick recap. If you're just joining us live in eXp World, welcome to a live recording of the Lightwork podcast. I'm Kirtus Dixon, joined by the amazing Nicole Ambrose. And Nicole has taken us through a more personal part of her journey and story. She's been an entrepreneur for more than a decade. She runs multiple successful businesses in and around the real estate space. So many great things to share there. Make sure you connect with her online and follow Nicole for more of her story. But she took us way back to kind of growing up in Chicago, being in school, struggling with that learning disability, and really a couple of keywords I wrote down, Nicole. I always like to call out the language that our guests use. And you talked about being overlooked. You talked about being doubted. You talked about being told to accept someone else's reality, someone else's idea for you. And then you shouted out Mrs. Martin and Grandma, who really changed that. And you talked about them mentoring you through middle school, through high school, and you finally having that epiphany that it was okay to be different. And it was perfect to be imperfect. And I love that message. I just wanted to restate it for anybody listening here today. If you're in a place where you're feeling doubted, you're feeling overlooked, you think someone else is prescribing their version of your future to you, and you feel a little different, you want to go a different direction, it's okay. And I just think that Nicole's story hopefully will empower some of the folks in the audience, Nicole, to make that decision that being different doesn't mean less than, right? Those imperfections are part of you being perfect. And I want everybody to take a little bit of Nicole's courage, to have the courage this morning to feel like you can you can pursue that big goal. You can move yourself to the next level. You can go anywhere you want to go. So I know we have a little bit of strategy we're going to share with the audience in just a couple of minutes, Nicole, but I want to go back to the last 10 years as an entrepreneur. You talked about your early struggles in childhood, you know, the challenges that you've overcame. I would imagine during those 10 years somewhere, there was some big obstacle or some big challenge, or maybe a couple of moments that really continue to help shape who you are today and where you're at, you know, as a person, as a professional. Can you reflect on any moment? Does anything stand out in your mind where you really kind of overcame and now that's helped shape who you are today?
Absolutely. And just because we're in this real estate space, I'll talk to that. I think that one of the biggest challenges for me, my first, and I want to start by saying this so people can know that there's always success on the other side of the journey. So now I've had my real estate license for 5 years and I've sold over 350 homes as an individual agent. But that first 7 months, I didn't sell anything. And I had already ran a successful trucking business, successful tax business. But real estate is a completely different beast than any other business that I've had, right? And that first 7 months, me not selling anything and me looking on social media is a gift and a curse, right? So you can look to social media and you see all of the social media influencers, and I'm watching what I'm seeing all the social media real estate influencers doing, and I'm trying to mimic what I saw them doing, but it wasn't working for me. I still wasn't able to catapult my business. So what I realized is that you have to run your own race. And when you start looking to what other people are doing, it's good to mimic success factors, and success does leave clues. However, when you start looking at social media can make you feel inadequate about what you're doing. And everything that's on social media will look really shiny, but it's not. So I was jumping from strategy to strategy to strategy. Every time I saw a different carrot from a different successful real estate agent, I'm trying to do what this person was doing, that person was doing, that person was doing. When in reality, what ended up happening was after that 7th or 8th month, I began to just organically be myself. And I got a coach that helped me to really identify who I was, what problem in real estate I wanted to solve, so people could look to me for a solution. And when people look to your business as a solution-based business, that's when they'll go and do business with you. So I used to I remember when I was in college, I had horrible credit. And then when I dropped out, my credit got even worse. And I ended up, even though I dropped out, I had a ton of student loan debt, right? And at some points, I was a single mom. My husband and I had separated and I was a single mom. So those things really resonated with me. So once I figured that out and that was the population of people that I wanted to serve, so many people told me, again, it took me back to my childhood when people were telling me that I couldn't and that I wasn't. People in the real estate space were telling me that you're not going to be able to be successful serving that population of people because they'll have challenged credit, have student loans, they won't be able to close homes. Well, I rebuked that in the name of Jesus. And I said, I'm going to go to the worst parts in Atlanta. I'm going to do home buying seminars, and I'm going to do credit repair seminars, and I'm going to go and attract the people that everybody else left behind. So at 8 o'clock in the morning, every Saturday for 2 years, I was in the park. It could be rain, sleet, or snow. I would be in the park doing credit repair seminars, doing home buying seminars, to the point where I could be at a grocery store an hour from my house. And I would see kids in the store and they would be like, mommy, because on Saturdays, I would bring like coloring books and crayons for the kids so the kids could color and play while I was helping their parents. And the kids in the grocery store say, mommy, it's the credit lady. Mommy, it's the real estate lady. It's that realtor lady. It's that realtor lady. So it hit me after like a year or two that like, I found my purpose and my passion through what my pain points were in life. And I could identify with those people. So it never felt like a minute of work to me. I really enjoyed what I was doing. So it made me great at it because it didn't feel like a job. It felt like I was really looking at people that I identified with, that looked at me and they could identify with me. And then I turned around, and this is probably going to be a terrible way to describe it, but every time I had a closing and I would see that mother and that father or that mom or that dad with their kids sitting there and they're crying or they're just so happy and they get their keys, it was almost like a high for me. Like I was ready to go and chase my next high, because I knew that real estate for me wasn't about money. It was really about the purpose, the passion, and me making a difference in people's lives. And you don't have to chase money. If you chase purpose and passion, money will chase you.
Woo. My goodness. So I know we talked about some of your family members, and in the music game and the rap game, they say rappers are spitting bars, right? You were dropping fire there for this audience. I got a page of notes, Nicole. So I just want you to know every time I look down, I'm not distracted. I'm documenting these amazing principles and ways of thinking and these messages. So I'm gonna share with the audience here a couple of things that you mentioned. So first off, you've used the word defy the odds, right? In any business as an entrepreneur, but especially real estate, the odds are against you. The odds of success, right? In EXP, in our family, the odds of growing and changing the world and making an impact, a decade ago were low, and we've continued to beat them. And in life, every single one of us is running up against the odds, right? This whole world runs on numbers. And you talked about defying the odds, and I appreciate you sharing some of those ways that you've been able to defy those odds. And a guiding North Star principle I heard from you, I want to restate for the audience, is you have to run your own race. You talked about early in your career in real estate, specifically having months of a drought with no sales, no impact, and you were chasing strategies, chasing tactics. And I think anyone out there can relate to that in some area of their life. They're pushing in a direction, but they're focused on what everyone else is doing, what everyone else thinks they should be doing. They're focused, as you said, on the gift and the curse of social media. And the moment you decided to be yourself, the moment you started to think about who you serve, how you're going to serve them, what problem you solve, it unlocked that passion. It led you to that purpose, and everything changed from there. I think that's such an important message for everybody to hear about how to go where you want to go. It's through being yourself. It's through being authentic. It's through serving a community, a group of people, or a mission or a purpose that you're super passionate about. And then there's nothing wrong with being high on life, high on impact, high on helping others, right? It is an amazing feeling. It does fill you up when you're able to empower and gift and support and change the lives of other people. And I know you've done that in the thousands, maybe even the millions by now, I'm sure. So I just want to say thank you. I wasn't one of those kids in the park, but I would have been 30 years ago, right? Where I grew up. And I just want to thank you for being that credit lady, that realtor lady, that life-changing lady for so many families. What a beautiful, beautiful message. So I want to shift gears here for a minute. I think so far as you've gone along, as you've been talking, you've definitely been teaching, but I want to get a little bit more specific. You've used this phrase about loving your imperfections. And I think there's probably a lot of us that can relate to that. We don't all like to talk about our imperfections out loud, but we know them in our head. Their insecurities, their limiting beliefs, whatever they are. I think you have an amazing gift, which is an ability to love your imperfections. So if you could gift our audience with some of that strategy, how do we begin to love our imperfections or those things we're insecure about?
That's a great question. And I honestly think that it really starts from the moment that, because you start, and I don't care who you are, at some point you start having that nervous feeling in your stomach, and then it's something that you will start to you'll start to think about it. You'll overindulge in that thought, whether it's how you look physically from weight, or I know I've got an oversized nose, and I told you about these ears yesterday that could be the perfect science project, right? Whatever it is. And it could be that you're shy talking in front of people. It could be that you feel inadequate because you haven't been able to create a 6 or 7 figure business. It could be that you just want to be more from a financial standpoint, a spiritual standpoint. And it could, be that you don't like the way you walk, the way that you talk, whatever it is. When you start feeling that nervous thing that you don't want to display in front of other people because it makes you uncomfortable, display it 10 times more. Because guess what? When you start to really, really hone in on the things that you dislike the most, and you do those things first. So I used to hate talking on camera. So I would make sure that all of my meetings where I had to talk on camera, that I got them out the way at 8 o'clock in the morning. And if you start to just focus on them more as an attribute as opposed to a challenge, what you'll turn around and you'll start to do is you'll start to realize, oh, that wasn't so bad. Oh, Kirtus didn't even realize that maybe I mispronounced a couple words, or Kirtus didn't even realize the fact that I'm uncomfortable about my nose. Because if you become perfect at being imperfect, there's nothing that anybody can take away from you. Like, the crazy thing is, I accept and I love those things. So if somebody else calls them out about me, I'm like, that's the best you got, because I'm comfortable with that. There's nothing that you can say derogatory about me that can hurt me or make me feel less than, because I've already embraced that nervous feeling that I may get when it's time to talk on camera. I've already embraced my nose. I've already embraced the fact that I have dyslexia. I already have embraced that I come from a rough side of Chicago. I already embraced that I was a single mom when I was 20. I've already embraced that the first, that I didn't really hit my success pattern until I turned 38. And, the first 38 years may not have been perfect. I've embraced that. What else you got? And once you embrace it and you love it, you can walk in a room so confident, and you can walk in a room and you'll be the light that shines, because there's nothing that anybody can say to you, do to you. There's not a look or a stare that anybody can give you that will make you feel unconfident, because you've embraced it. Embrace it, whatever it is. I encourage you. And it's hard. And I'm not going to tell you that it's easy, because it took me a long time to get to this point, but it takes practice. So start today. Whatever it is, I want you to look yourself in a mirror, and whatever that thing is that you hate about yourself, whatever that thing is that's keeping you from your success factor, whatever that thing is that's keeping you from being a good mom or dad, that's keeping you from being a good daughter, that's keeping you from being a good employee, that's keeping you from being a good business owner, that's keeping you from delivering excellent customer service, whatever it is, the thing that's keeping you away from serving the God that you serve, whatever it is that's keeping you from doing those things, you look yourself in a mirror and you talk to yourself about those things, and you start telling yourself that it's okay, and forgive yourself for anything and anybody that you've been in the past. But most importantly, the thing that's imperfect about you, look at yourself in the mirror and say, maybe imperfect to them, but it's perfect to me. I like it. I like this person. I love this person. And you keep saying it and keep saying it and keep telling yourself that you love yourself and that you're enough, because I promise you, exactly who you organically are when you're not trying to be somebody else is enough. Do a gut check and love yourself.
Whew. Well, I would say if we weren't on camera right now, I'd probably have tears streaming down my face. I want to say I see and accept your perfections, Nicole. I love you back. And I know the audience is feeling that self-love and that gift of encouragement from you. I mean, you gave some big questions, right? I'm going to encourage everybody to write these words down, slap them on a wall in front of you. Imagine asking the world, what else you got for me? Because I know I'm enough. I love myself. Imagine writing the words, embrace it, and putting them up right in front of yourself every day, so that you're embracing those things that you find to be imperfections, those insecurities, those limiting beliefs, those things that have held you back from finding your success factor, as Nicole said. And that tendency to overindulge, that fear. When you said it, I felt it. Got that feeling in my stomach. We all know what that feeling feels like. We walk in anywhere, or we show up anywhere, especially in this new world of being on cameras and Zooms and all that stuff, and you immediately get that nervousness. And most people, I think, try to fight it, or as you said, overindulge it. Your message was embrace it, put it out front and center, display more of it, bring it out, find a way to fall in love with it, accept it, and move past it, and nothing can stop you. You reminded me of a quote I read recently about sort of confidence, right? Confidence doesn't mean I'm going to walk in the room and they're going to like me. Confidence means I'm going to walk in the room and I'm going to like me.
Yes.
It doesn't matter what they think, right? It doesn't matter what the world throws at you when you have that self-love, that confidence. And I think that message, I want to remind everybody, you've got to put it into practice. And that's why we do this every Friday, Nicole, so we can create this weekly energy practice. I know you inspired people today to think, to feel. You left them feeling like they're ready to go defy the odds. You left them feeling like it's time to embrace something about themselves that they've been hiding from themselves or from the world. And for that, I want to thank you. I want to share that you've been amazing. You've impacted me in a short 25 minutes, and I know you impacted this audience. I'm going to ask you for one quick final 60-second takeaway message, Nicole. If you can make sure the audience remembers one thing today, what's that message?
The most important message is you're looking at a person who started out with dyslexia, that her teachers and the influencers in her life told her that she wasn't going to be anything. And it wasn't until I adopted the love for myself and the genuine caring about me and love the world from the inside out as opposed to the outside in that I became successful. Everything that I was told that I could not do, I'm doing it, and I'm doing it times 10. And if I can do it, you can do it too. There's no difference in me or you. I put my dress, my pants on the same way you do. I encourage you to dig deep, to look inside of you. Your success lies in you doing a gut check to say simply, I'm enough, I am loved, and I love everything about me. And that's where your success is going to come from. Be a servant leader in this world. We've got enough people who are trying to influence from a negative place. Be an influencer from a place of love, and simply be a servant leader, and you'll watch your business change and you'll watch your life change.
Be a servant leader and watch your life change. Well, Nicole, thank you for your servant leadership. Thank you for your partnership. Thank you for bringing your light and that energy today to this audience. It has been an absolute pleasure. If you all want to connect with Nicole, go find her on Instagram. As of yesterday, she had a Bored Ape Yacht Club as her avatar. I thought that was so awesome. Nicole Ambrose Real Estate on Instagram. Follow her for more good energy every single day. And join us next week for the next episode of Light Work. Nicole, appreciate you being here. Next week, our special guest will be the amazing Elizabeth Riley out of Austin, Texas. We will see you all next Friday right here live in eXp World or online.